This episode of Sideline Warning is brought to you by Roost Sport, makers of the original magnetic running pouch. Whether you're biking, running, hiking, or even traveling, the Roost Sport clips to your waistband with magnets for an easy, convenient way to carry what you need without the bulk of belts or bags. Visit theroostsport.com and use the code SIDELINE30, all lowercase, for 30% off their entire product line. Again, that's theroostsport.com, promo code SIDELINE30. And now on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sideline Warning, the show where sports takes are sure to go way too far into the field. Here to recap this week's biggest and best sports stories are your hosts, Dave Adams, Ben Foster, and Adam Russell.
And welcome back into Sideline Warning, everybody. As always, you've got the one, the only, the golden voice of the Southeast, Dave Adams, coming to you live and in living color from Harvest, Alabama, all the way at the very top of the state, because I am always on top of everything. And as always, I have brought my friends along. All the way from Birmingham, Alabama, Noah's Ark is probably floating along there on I-2059, Hollywood Ben Foster. Hollywood, have you seen Noah floating around?
I have not seen Noah, but I'm really excited that my apartment is on the highest floor.
Yeah,
on top of a hill.
You starting to see some flooding?
I'm just saying, I may take a canoe to work tomorrow on Tuesday.
They're saying we might get up to 9 inches of rain here in North Alabama. Is that what y'all are hearing down there in Birmingham?
I haven't heard a total number of inches prediction, but it's gonna be pretty swampy here for the next few days.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. When you speak of swamp, that makes me think of, I don't know, House of Mouse, Groveland, Goldenrod, Four Corners, Fern Park, Flagler Beach, Fruitland Park, Williamsburg, Vineland, I don't know, St. Cloud, the home of the phenomenal brother, the place that I will be next weekend, Adam Russell. What's going on, Adam?
Pretty good. Just don't bring the rain with you. It was a beautiful day today. Please.
Well, did you see what the weather's going to be when I'm there next weekend?
Not yet, no.
It might hit 90 degrees when we're supposed to be running.
Yeah, that's mild.
Are you kidding me?
Good thing you guys have done all that cold weather training.
I know, right? Did I say all the names of the places correctly today?
You did, yeah. And for the record, next weekend the forecast is now 83 and 84, which is how it was today. And today was really nice.
Did you run outside today?
Running and me did not happen today. That should be tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Yes.
Well, the next time you hear from Adam and myself, we will have just done the half marathon.
One way or the other, that's right.
We will walk it if we have to, dadgummit. One way or another.
I really wish there was a way to connect like some Bluetooth headphones to a laptop so we could record your conversation while you're running.
I mean, we could.
We should see. You'll hear later in the show about this technology the AAF's using. We should see if we could get one of their chips and you could follow us and see us run the race.
Yeah, we could know when you juke left or juke right.
We could.
I don't know if the chips track something that slow though. That might be a problem.
We are not Trent Richardson or Luis Perez. I'll tell you that much.
That we are not.
No, but somebody that knows a lot about Trent Richardson and Luis Perez is the guest that you're about to hear. We actually just did an interview with the Birmingham Iron play-by-play guy, Thom Abraham. And to me, he's more than that. He's one of the reasons that I am big into radio. I've always listened to radio. Tom's always had a radio show here in North Alabama, and he helped me when I needed some help my second go-around through college. He's got a great story how he met me. He knows me as Dave the Dog Beaner. We'll learn about that here in a minute. We're going to bring him in here in just a second, but we've got some cool calls of his from Saturday's win over Birmingham Iron over the Salt Lake Stallions. So we're going to play those right here, and we'll see you on the other side where we talk about Roost Sport here on Sideline Warning.
End over end punt. And now it's ripped out. The ball is free. They're chasing it. And the Iron are on it in the end zone. end zone. There's a scrum in the end zone. It looks like, now it's going to be a muff. You can't advance it, but nobody picked it up and run with it. The ball is sitting at the 9-yard line, and it's a touchdown, Birmingham! Here comes the field goal unit for Salt Lake. It's been mostly a comedy of errors with one big 53-yarder. This one is going to come from the 38-yard line. So 48 yards for Taylor Bertolette to tie this game up with 1:03 to go. The snap is good. The hold is good. Bertolette's kick is on its way, and it is no good. He hooked it left. And the Iron are a couple of snaps away from getting to 2-0.
And welcome back into Sideline Warning, guys. We've got with us a guy that I would consider maybe a radio legend, a radio icon, one of my legends in the business, the Big Dawg, Thom Abraham. Tom, what's going on, man?
Hey guys, I appreciate being on with you. I don't know about legend. I'm still kind of rubbing my head from where you beamed me when you became Dave the Dog Beaner. Are you kidding me?
All right, Tom. Now that you brought that up, we have to let our listeners know what you're talking about.
I don't know how old you were at the time. It's 2004-ish, somewhere in there, and I'm the voice of the Tennessee Valley Vipers. I think it's my first year as the voice of the Tennessee Valley Vipers, and our broadcast position was down low, and you were working on, I think, the T-Mobile promotional team, or maybe you were working with the team or T-Mobile or whatever. I think with T-Mobile. So anyway, we're in a commercial break, and Dave is out there with all of the other, T-Mobile team people, and they're throwing these little hard plastic, footballs that you see at high school football games with T-Mobile on them into the crowd, right? So I got my head down. I'm working on my notes. I'm in a commercial break. And all of a sudden, I get beamed right on top of my head. I'm seeing stars. I don't know what just hit me. I thought the building was collapsing or something. And I look up, and I had gotten hit with one of these footballs. So the next Monday, I'm on the show, and I'm talking about it. And I'm saying some idiot hit me with a football, beamed me in the head with a football, and Dave calls into the show, and he says, I'm the guy that hit you when you were broadcasting the game. So I glossed him Dave the Dog Beaner, and ever since that, he was the Dog Beaner. So that was it.
And ever since then, that's the easy way that you know me. I mean, that's how I sign my emails and
I know,
and text messages and everything. Well,
and I've told that story in every market I've been. I told that story in Nashville. I've told that story here in North Alabama, Montgomery, down in Florida. Everywhere I've been, I've told that story.
Well, I kind of feel honored then because people know me then up in Nashville and Florida.
Story. Yeah.
That is a good story. Well,
I know you're an idiot that hit me in the head with a football.
Hold on, Tom. Hold on. Well, do we have to say the word idiot? Because I don't know. Besides being what I call a radio icon here in North Alabama, because you've had a show here for off and on for 20 years?
I have been on since then. 2004 is when I came here, so it's 15 years now. Yeah.
Okay, so but besides that,
even when I was in Nashville, they still syndicated the show back here to Huntsville. Yeah.
So besides that, you're now the radio voice of the Birmingham Iron, and we on the podcast have had a close relationship with the Iron and the Orlando Apollos, and so we thought it'd be great to have you on to give your take on what you think about the Iron this season.
Well, I'll tell you what. First of all, I was surprised at how quickly I forgot about kickoffs. I think that was one of the things that has shocked me. I'm not missing it at all. And I was a special teams coordinator at the college level for 6 years. And I was aghast when I heard that the NFL was experimenting with taking the kickoffs out of the Pro Bowl. So that kind of surprised me. Same thing with the extra point, not missing it at all. The scores look a little bit weird. I think it's a little odd for the gamblers, when they see like these different numbers and so on that are popping up. But the pace of play I'm really enjoying. The talent that's on the field is significant, and I think what we're really seeing is the differences in the coaching staffs. I think what you're seeing with Orlando with Steve Spurrier won again on Sunday, and they're scoring a ton of points. I mean, it's he's 73 years old, doesn't matter. Everywhere he is, they're going to score points. So they're scoring points, and what I'm seeing out of out of the Iron is when you look at the defensive staff that Tim Lewis has put together. Of course, Tim Lewis himself, a defensive coordinator for all those years, but also Rick Minter on his defensive coordinator. He used to be the head coach of Cincinnati for years. Of course, was a defensive coordinator with Notre Dame and so on. He's got Ray Hamilton, Sugar Bear Hamilton, is his D-line coach. Ted Cottrell, 36 years in the NFL as the linebacker coach, and Martin Bayless, longtime DB and DB coach in the NFL. His defensive staff is outstanding. So look at them. They're the best defense in the league. What's going to happen here is we're on a crash course. It looks pretty clear that Orlando and Birmingham, Orlando the best offense in the league, Birmingham the best defense in the league, both in the Eastern Division. They'll play twice. First time I think is March 2nd in Birmingham, and then we'll go down there and play them in Orlando. And then I could see a scenario where there's a third matchup, and that'll be the playoff matchup, and that could happen in Orlando again. It'll be at the home of whoever has the better record. So it could be a scenario where we have to play back-to-back games. It's the final regular season game of the year. It'll be in Orlando. The winner of that game may host the playoff game between the Iron and the Apollos. I'm getting way ahead of ourselves, but that's what it looks like. I mean, it looks like Atlanta. I mean, we'll see what Atlanta, what they've got, but Memphis, struggled again. So it appears that Orlando and Birmingham are the two teams that are the class of the East anyway.
Yeah, you talk about them being the class of the two leagues anyway. Go into where you see this Birmingham defense looking. It looks like, for some reason, the state of Alabama always pumps out a great defense. Is that just because Tim Lewis is a defensive-minded head coach? Is that because we have something in the water here in the state? Or what's going on with that?
Well, I think it's because of the makeup of the staff. I think clearly, and what Tim Lewis has said to his offensive coordinator and what he has told Steve Logan quite clearly is just, look, we're really good defensively. We don't need to get too cute. Let's not mess this up. It'll be interesting to see what happens if they have to score some points. What they do. But there's a lot of talent on that defense, and unfortunately, we've also seen a lot of injuries. Xavier Dixon went down; he's having an MRI. We'll see whether or not he's going to be able to stay in there. But Jonathan Massaquoi, who has been outstanding, and this kid played for the Falcons. He was a fifth-round draft pick of the Falcons, and played a number of years for the Falcons and had some good years there in the NFL. The kid Jamar Summers is going to be in a camp. He's a kid out of UConn, went to camp with the Steelers last year, and he's a defensive back that's been really good. Jeremy Falk has been an absolute stud out of Little Garden City Community College, so he's been very good. And Beniquez Brown, the middle linebacker, so they're really strong defensively, and they also play into the hands of their defense. They don't look to do anything stupid offensively because they know that at least these first two games that they weren't going to be really threatened defensively.
Yeah. Well, you actually brought into my next question. What's the defense going to look like now with all these injuries? I mean, Frazier went down, Dixon went down, like you said, and Hagan looks like he's probably out for the season. How's the defense going to look going forward?
Yeah, Hagan is definitely out for the season. That was gruesome. I don't know what they did with it on TV. I didn't see all of the game on the replay. I have it stored, but we saw it right away from upstairs. And my color commentator, former Alabama All-American Mike Johnson, had that same exact injury at the Falcons. That's what ended his career. He had the dislocated ankle with the broken tibia, and it was an ugly injury. And Hagan was the guy that was carrying the ball on that fake punt, which was an ill-advised fake punt and a worse call. Defensively, where they go from here, it'll be interesting to see. Devin Taylor is a big guy, 6'8", 265-pound outside linebacker. He came in when Dixon went out, and Taylor, he had 16 starts in the NFL. This is a guy that had 15 sacks in 4 years in the NFL. So, he was a fourth-round draft pick of the Lions back in 2013. So there's some talent that they've got there. Josh Frazier went down. He was backing up Ricky Hadley, and Frazier's also having an MRI on Monday. So we'll see, what's going to happen with him. Travon Reed is out for the season. The kid out of Auburn, the defensive back. Chris Davis is already on injured reserve. I take that back. Reed is not out for the season. He could be back, but Chris Davis, kick six fame, down level. He is on injured. He's on injured reserve. So, he's done for the year, but. We'll see how much of it is the Jimmies and the Joes and how much of it is the X's and the O's.
Yeah. Well, let's move over to the offensive side of the ball. First off, where's Luis Perez been? Because it seems like he is maybe the best quarterback in the league right now, but he's a guy that not a lot of people know about. So why has he gotten a raw deal in the NFL and now he's in the I'm not going to call us the JV league, but the AAF is not the NFL. So where has he been? Because he looks like he is the surprise.
I think it's kind of fair to call it the JV league. I mean, it's high. I would say that it's somewhere between Division I football, because every one of these guys were starters on their teams, and 82% of the league has had some time in the NFL. I think it's akin right now to the second or third quarter of a second or third preseason game in the NFL. I think that's where these guys they're capable with the twos and the threes, if you will, in the NFL. But having said that, Luis Perez, where has he been? In the bowling hall. That's where he's been. The guy decided in high school, after his junior year, he decided he wanted to be a professional bowler. And he's a fantastic bowler. He's like a 235 average bowler, and he was going to be a pro bowler. And then he decided, you know what, let me give one more shot. He went to community college. He grew a little bit in stature. He did a real nice job there. Ended up at Texas A&M Commerce. He won the Division II Heisman Trophy, the Harlan Hill Award, and twice last year was signed by the Rams. So, look, if Sean McVay is signing you twice and bringing you back onto the practice squad and stuff, that means something, right? So he has got some skills. He will be in a camp this summer for sure. And I don't know if he's the best-looking quarterback. That Garrett Gilbert looks pretty good out of Orlando as well. He floats the ball a little bit on some of these outside routes where you're throwing from one hash to the opposite sideline. There's been a couple of times where he's had a guy open, and he kind of floats it out there, and they were almost picked off. And I think one did get picked off. But, so he's got to work on that a little bit. But he's good, man. Yeah, and I think that it was really close. They were going to go with Keith Price. It was extremely close. And we were told that in game one that if Perez didn't look good early, Keith Price would be in there. Forget about Blake Sims. We all love Blake Sims, what he did for Alabama. But, he's tried to be a quarterback and a running back in every league in captivity, and it's not worked out for him. So Keith Price is a guy that I think they really like out of Washington. But Perez is doing a great job, and he'll stay in there at this point in time. He'll get into camp.
Yeah. Well, I got one more before I let my other guys jump in here. So Trent Richardson is a name that we all know and love. And, of course, being a University of Alabama alums, all three of us, that's a name we were so excited to see coming in. He's good, but it's not the Trent that we loved when he was in Crimson. What happened to him? Was it the NFL rule about using your helmet, or is something in his head? What's going on?
Well, first of all, he got fat in the NFL. And let's start with this. Have you guys ever stood next to Trent Richardson? Mm-hmm. I mean, literally stood right next to him? Okay. I have. If he's 5'8", he's a lot. He's Maurice Jones-Drew size. I mean, he is not 5'10". They list him at 5'10", 230. Alabama listed him at 5'. He is not. If he's 5'8", and that's with the dreads, he might be 5'9" when he's got him up there on top. So there's that. He came into the NFL at 228. Remember, he has almost 1,000 yards for the Browns, 11 or 12 touchdowns. He gets a great start to his career. The next year he comes back for camp, he's 245 on 5'8". And he never got rid of that weight, and he lost that explosion. He's got that patented little jump cut and explosion type deal. He had lost that. So he now is about 228. Probably needs to be about 222, 223, but he looks really good physically. And I know his yards per carry aren't there, but he's getting very little blocking. I mean, you see it. He's got 120 yards or so in these first two games, and 105 of them have come after contact. He's still a beast to get down on the ground. We've seen that out of him. And God forbid they give him a little crease. They gave him that one little crease. He had a 9-yard run. Boom, So I still believe that he's got something. I don't think he's going back to the league. He's 28 years old, and running backs in the NFL, that's the shelf life. He's enjoying what he's doing now. These guys make about $10,000 a game, so it's not chump change. You can feed your family. He could play, here for 2 or 3 years with this team, make a few dollars, and then move on to the next segment of his life. I don't see him going back. To be honest with you, I don't see him going back to the NFL.
So we've talked a little bit about Luis Perez and Trent Richardson, and it seems like both of those guys would be able to benefit by a little bit better, a little bit improved offensive line play. What can the Iron do to tighten that up here in the next few games?
Well, get Corin Curvin healthy. He tried to go. He didn't practice all week. Tried to go, and he was out of the game by the first quarter. And Michael Dunn had to go in there and play for him. Dominic Jackson has played very well. Brandon Green at times has played well, but Brandon Green also at times got his lunch handed to him by Carter Schultz, the defensive end from Salt Lake, who's got 3 sacks on the season already, and he's a guy that we'll see, I think, getting a look in some NFL camp this summer as well. But I think the biggest part of it is Hassenauer has been fine at center. I think the biggest issue is they've been decent in pass pro, not good at all in run blocking. But this is about meshing. This is about time. 6 weeks. I know it sounds like a lot, 6 weeks, but 6 weeks for them to be together is still just not a lot of time. There's some things they can do schematically. I mean, how about a toss once in a while? I'd like to see them try and get the ball to the perimeter, try and do something a little different than just an inside or outside zone. They run that stretch play and get a lot of wash. So it'll be interesting to see if they try to do more maybe with an H-back and try and get some sort of a lead blocker. They don't have a fullback on this team, but, maybe they can do something with an H-back and do some of that stuff. But, it looks like a team that is going to have to set up they want to run the ball first to set up the pass, but it looks like it's going to have to be the other way around.
Well, it seemed like some of Richardson's most successful plays were when he was swung to the outside. Why aren't the Iron incorporating that more?
I don't know. I mean, they'd have to ask Steve Logan and see why they don't do that. That's why I say I'd like to see them go toss a little bit. I'd like to see them try and get them to the corner quicker. It seems to be that their scheme is to run inside and outside zone. They don't run any kind of counter or trap right now. And, we saw Salt Lake City doing that. They ran a bunch of counter plays, the old counter tray where you're blocking down on the front side, pull a guard, pull a tackle, and you have that jab step, and then there's a gap inside. That's a base blocking play. I would love to see the Iron do something like that, but everything they do is zone blocking, and their guys just haven't been good enough in a zone block, and I don't want to get too technical, but with a zone block, what you're trying to do is you're scooping a guy that's outside of you. You got him his outside shoulder, you're trying to scoop him and turn him back in, and they just have not been good enough or quick enough off the ball to where they can really be an effective zone blocking team. So maybe some more base blocking, X blocks, trap play, some kind of a trap system or counter system would help them, and a toss once in a while and let Trent do his thing on the corner. And Perkins, by the way. I was stunned that Perkins didn't get a carry in that game. Ladarius Perkins, pretty nice little running back, and he did not get a carry in that game.
So, Tom, if you take a step back and look at the league as a whole, it seems like in sports media particularly, it's been pretty split among what everybody's opinion is. I think we've talked on the show a couple of times in previous weeks. I think Herb Street came out and I went on a little rant on him about him saying that he didn't think the AAF had legs, called it a JV kind of operation. I mean, based off what you've covered in the past, based off what you've seen in person, do you think the AAF has legs? Is this going to be something that sticks? Will it make it?
I think so if they stay in their lane. And it seems like they're committed to staying in their lane. And they are. It's JV play, but it's not a JV operation. Having been there and knowing what's going on behind the scenes and what we're getting stats-wise and what we're getting from all the other information, it's first rate. I mean, everything. This is all NFL people that run this thing. And everything that you're seeing done, in the 35-second clock, the no kickoffs, the no extra point, that's all ideas that are being presented, really, I'll be honest with you, by the NFL, even though there's not an official alliance yet. The question is going to be, are they going to eventually make that relationship with the NFL official where you can take, and each team right now has an agreement with has a loose alliance with 4 teams in the NFL. For the Iron, it's the Browns, the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Buffalo Bills. So any player that gets released by those 4 teams will go first crack is Birmingham. And every team in the league has 4 NFL teams that they're associated with that way. But it's not an official relationship. The next step is to develop a relationship where a team is getting ready to release a guy or a team has a guy on their 90-man roster, and the Cleveland Browns say to him, hey, by the way, Birmingham, we want to see this guy get some reps here this spring, kind of like how it was in the World League. I think if they stay in their lane, they do that, they kind of make sure that they're aligned themselves with the NFL, that they'll have an opportunity to have staying power. Because I think I'm old enough to remember the USFL. The USFL is still going if it stays in the spring. That would have been fine. Now, the XFL is the wild card here. What are they going to look like when they get here next year? Are they going to be hokey? Are they going to be doing all kinds of goofy stuff? And are they going to wreck college football? Because the XFL has already said they are not going to honor the 3-year rule that the NFL has, that the Alliance is doing nothing to ruffle feathers with the NFL. But the XFL has said, you know what? They literally said it. If Trevor Lawrence wins another national championship and a Heisman Trophy and is tired of playing for free and wants to make some money before he's eligible for the NFL draft, we'll pay him $250,000 to come play a year in the XFL. And then the next thing it's going to be, maybe that would have been Tua this year. Or what if Talia Tagovailoa is that kind of a player? Or what if there's a Derrick Henry coming out of high school in Daytona Beach and he's a man-child at age 19. The kid doesn't want to go to college. And the XFL says, okay, come on, you can play here for 3 years, and it replaces college. That's going to be the danger to college football, but I also think it'll be the death of the XFL because you can't take on the NFL and the NCAA that way and survive. I think that'll be a problem. So if the Alliance stays in its lane and just does what it's doing, everybody accepts it what it is, I think they'll be fine. And I actually think that more of the commentary has been positive than negative. The other thing is the app. The app has been reloaded and upgraded now 3 or 4 times since they introduced it last week. This app is built around sports gambling. This at the end of the day, these leagues that are all coming out, this is all about sports gambling. And that app now, where you can predict the play, if it's going to go to the left, going to go to the right, is it a running play, is it this or that? Every player has a chip in their uniform. There's a chip in the ball, and when you watch the game on the app, you actually see everybody moving around on the field. It's amazing. If there's a timeout, you see the players go to the sideline. Wherever they are, you see them on that app. And that app is built for gambling. And when we have more states allowing gambling beginning next year, you're going to see this being a deal where fans are going to be sitting in the stands betting on the game, and they'll be betting play by play and quarter by quarter on these games.
Yeah, that's cool. I think, I don't know, now that you're aligned with the league, and you said this on the show, I don't know if you could say this now, you would love for the XFL champion and the AAF champion to play each other. Do you still think that that'd be a cool idea?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, if you could get Vince McMahon, of course, he had that battle with Charlie Ebersol's dad, Dick Ebersol, and just, McMahon is the ultimate, promoter, right? He's the guy that's all about this stuff. If you could get the X and the Alliance to play a championship game at the end, it would be huge. It would be absolutely huge because it would be the two styles of play. The Alliance is more old school. The XFL wants to be, reimagine the game or whatever. Assuming that the rules are, going to be relatively similar. To me, the best thing that could happen for the two leagues, they each got 8 teams. The X is in all NFL cities. The Alliance has 2 NFL cities. The rest are secondary cities like Birmingham and Memphis. And if you took those 2 leagues and they played towards their champions, met in a championship game, it would be huge.
See, I thought let's add something else to that. Let's do like soccer does. Now, I know you're a Browns fan, so you might not like to hear this, but say that the least wins team in the NFL, they have to drop down to the AAF, and the champion of those 2 has to go up to the NFL.
Yeah, wouldn't it be relegated? You'd be relegated. Cleveland would have been not this year. They wouldn't have been relegated, but they would have been relegated like the last 5 years before this year. But relegation. That would be something. We'll never see that over here. Those places, they do that over there in England in the Premiership. But those teams, the ones that are even playing in the second division or the champions or whatever the hell they call it over there, those teams have been around for 100 years too. And they all got big buildings and everything else. So. It's almost like they're all one league. It's almost like they're divisions of one league.
Yeah. Tom, we've only got you for a couple more minutes, but we do want to pick your ear about baseball because I know you're a huge Yankees guy. Tell me what your thoughts are of baseball going into this next year. Where do you predict Bryce Harper and Manny Machado to go? And just give me an overview of what you think is going to happen.
Well, first of all, as a Yankee fan, I don't need either one of them. I like Bryce Harper. I don't like Manny Machado. I think Manny Machado is a punk. I don't think he is the kind of guy that will fit in the room. And it's also, I don't think it's what the Yankees need. The Yankees already have got all the bats that they need. They've got all the offense that they need. The Yankees are going to need pitching. If they're going to get to that next level, I'd rather they go get a Dallas Keuchel than they go get a Bryce Harper where are they going to put Bryce Harper? How many right fielders are you going to have on that team? You already got Stanton and Judge, and some people think Judge could be the first baseman someday. So we'll see what happens with that. They're going to be good. The Red Sox will be good. The Red Sox typically don't back up a good year with another good year. And I really love the Braves in the National League. I think the Braves are going to be really, really good. I would have liked to have seen the Braves be in on the Harper deal. I thought the Braves, that would have been a big-time move if the Braves were able to pull something like that off. But it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing. They haven't re-signed Markakis yet, have they? I mean,
they have.
They did. They went ahead and finally re-signed him. That's how much I've stayed up on in the last few weeks. But so they got Markakis back in the fold. I love the young players on the Braves. I wish that they'd get Greg Kimbrell back, because that's a guy that, local guy here from North Alabama. And that was a problem for the Braves last year, was the back end of the bullpen. So I'd love to see them have a true blue closer that they can close with. Because I think the young kids that are coming up, the young arms, man, the future's bright for the Braves. It's going to be it's going to be nice. I mean, the next few years are going to be good. I think Harper's going to be a Philly soon. Machado could be a Yankee. Still could go back to the Dodgers. Still could end up back there. I don't want to see him there. I don't care if he goes plays for the Marlins. For all I care, he can go down there. He's big in the Latin world.
Yeah, he died a slow, very painful death there in Miami.
Right.
Tom, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I think Adam wanted to get you to plug Bassmaster really quick before you head out.
Bassmaster Radio is great. I mean, this is really a thing. And, professional fishing this past weekend, Paul Mueller won $100,000 on Lake Lanier in North Georgia. He'll be on the show next week. We had Rick Klun, who won last week. We had him on this past show. It's syndicated now into 130 markets. I'm a lifetime member of BASS. I'm a fisherman. It's my passion. I fish the Eastern Opens with Bassmaster, and it's a lot of fun. It's a show about professional fishing, and it's a thing. I mean, it's a niche thing, but hell, so is soccer, So.
Don't get me started on soccer, Tom. It's a commie sport for third world countries that can't afford pads.
That's right. Kicking a skull. Remember how it started? I taught you guys how it started. The kicking a skull. They had nothing to do. They put two trees and they kicked a skull through the tree, and they said this is a sport, and it's pretty much the same sport it was 500 years ago.
Yep. Well, Tom, how can people follow you on social media since the Big Dawg show is not exactly on the air anymore? How can they follow you? How can they hear your wonderful voice?
Well, of course, I'm with 97.7 The Zone again, back with 97.7 The Zone. And I do Big Dawg Unleashed is a 2-minute commentary that airs from 6 to 6 p. There's 3 different ones that rotate every day, and every hour near the top of the hour, I get loose with that commentary. I contribute to the morning show with a feature. I'll be on Monday morning early, Tuesday morning early, and then I think Thursdays, and then Wednesday and Friday I'm on in the afternoon with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton, and I do a feature for them. It's a lot more flexible for me, which is good because I'm doing a lot of broadcasting. I have the syndicated show. I have a show in Florida called Field of Faith Radio. All of those shows can be found on Twitter at Thom Abraham Show, on Facebook, Facebook /Thom Abraham Show is the Facebook page. So I'm as busy as I've ever been. And I'm really enjoying. I also do Birmingham Bull games. Eli Gold and I split the Birmingham Bull games, hockey. So I do a number of those games. I've got one coming up in Huntsville, in fact, against the Havoc, coming up in March. So I'm busier than I've ever been. Will there be another Thom Abraham show where I'm doing feature show? There was conversation about that at the Zone, about maybe doing a midday shift. Right now, I really like the flexibility that I have. So, when you get anchored into a 4-hour show or 3-hour show every single day at the same time, it's kind of limiting to other things. I just got too much going on right now.
Yeah. Well, Tom, we appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy man, and it means a lot that you could take your time out of your day to come on the podcast. And we appreciate and look forward to hearing what you got coming up later on.
All right, guys, have a great rest of the day. Hey, we got the Atlanta Legends on Sunday afternoon. It'll be on CBS Sports Network. You can listen to it, though. 960 WERC streams it out of Birmingham. There's 5 or 6 stations in the network now. So don't miss it, man. Birmingham Iron football in Atlanta next weekend.
All right, thank you, Tom.
All right, guys.
That was a great interview there with Tom. I appreciate Tom coming and taking time out of his day to come on our show and talk about the Iron and what he thinks about the future of Major League Baseball. And it's cool to see how the Iron are finally starting to gel and look like a team that can compete for the AAF title and beat an all offensive team like the Orlando Apollos. Just because I'll tell you what, defense wins championships, doesn't it, Adam?
Yeah, but also scoring the most points in the league does too.
Well, what's the old adage?
Defense wins championships. Yeah, when Gilbert's hanging 393 yards on the second best team in the league by everybody's expectations, then yeah, let's see how the defense holds up in a couple of weeks.
What happens when Garrett Gilbert faces a team from Alabama?
We'll find out.
He's already done that, hasn't he?
He did with Texas, yes, as a backup, an untested backup. Now he's the starter.
No, he played. He played for 4 quarters. Garrett Gilbert was the starter for Texas that game. Untested. Ben, are you going to jump in on this?
No, I'm just eating my popcorn. Don't mind me.
I'll tell you what, something we don't agree on who to root for in the AAF. Ben and I are Alabama apologists, so we are definitely going to be Birmingham people. Adam is the outcast.
I'm an apologist.
Oh, dear Lord.
Really? Keep
all
going,
right,
Dave. Sorry.
The one thing that we can all agree on is that Roo Sport is a great product. Right, Adam?
That's right. We can. Whether you root for the Iron or the Apollos, the Roo Sport will have what you need for running, hiking, traveling, music festivals, anything you've got. The pouch that connects to your waistband with magnets serves many purposes and many different fandoms. It does not know any one team's loyalty.
I'll tell you what, though, we actually get to use ours for what they actually intended it for this weekend, don't we?
We do. That's right. Princess Half Marathon's coming up, for better or for worse.
I was going to say, are you ready for it?
Oh, no. We've talked about my Achilles. It's still there. But we're going to do the best we can. We're going to have fun. Either way.
Right. That's all that Run Disney is about. It's about fun, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you're setting a PR to a Disney race, you're doing it wrong, right?
Right. Exactly. But I'll tell you what, if you go to www.therootsport.com, check out what they got, because they've got those pouches. They've got the Roo Lounger, which I still need to get a video of me opening up this Roo Lounger. I've teased it for what, months now?
Oh, at least, yeah.
Okay. I'll get that video. But they've got those loungers. They've got the power packs. They've got all that stuff. But if you go there, buy whatever you want, put it in your shopping cart, and at checkout, use the promo code Sideline30. They're going to give you 30% off of what you've ordered. They don't have to do that for you guys, but they do that because they love our Sideline Warning listeners. And I can't think of a better way to show their appreciation, to give y'all that 30% off, and I can't think of a better way to show your appreciation than going and checking out theroosport.com. Ben, are you happy with your Roo pouch?
Yeah, my Roo Sport's great. I am, as you guys know, I've got a new puppy, and I think we floated this idea, but I'm actually starting puppy training here in the next week, and I've got to have a treat pouch. Guess what the Roo Sport's going to do? It's going to be the treat pouch. Boom. The treats are right there. They're on my hip. I've got them. I'll be ready to go. Puppy's going to be happy. And it's just another use for the Roo Sport that we keep finding uses for besides just holding your cell phone and your keys.
Yeah, it's a great product. All 3 of us on this show use it. And I'll tell you what, if you buy it, I know you'll use it. I know you'll love it. Go up there, like we said, www.theroosport.com. Promo code Sideline30. Get 30% off your entire order. You'll love it as much as we do. Something else that we don't love, well, 2 of us on the show don't love, is what we've seen from Alabama basketball, definitely in the last 7 days.
Hey, I don't love it either. I think you're talking about me being the person. I don't love it either.
Well, okay. So Alabama basketball, respectively, has lost by 19 points and 18 points in the last 2 days, or the last 7 days. I'll tell you what, if ever there was a time to say unbuckle yourself, it's now. Ben?
How can you unbuckle yourself, Dave? You were already unbuckled.
Adam was on the fence. So, Adam, tell me where you're at.
I'm probably where a lot of Alabama Nation is now, in that we had a good run. We had a shot to make a statement this year, and we're falling back into old habits. We're falling into exactly why it was so hard for people to be unbuckled in the first place, and that is you do not know what's going to hit the court on any given day. It could be the team that beat Kentucky, or it could be a team that loses by double digits, almost 20 points 2 times in a row, and has made 12 3-pointers in the last 2 games combined. You don't know. It's like a box of chocolates, Dave.
Oh, So you're saying Alabama's like a box of chocolates?
You never know what you're going to get.
So the one thing that you and I have harped on is free throw percentage. Well, against Mississippi State, that wasn't the problem. Alabama shot 91.7% from free throw. Ben, what happened at the hump to make Alabama look that bad?
Turnovers. And not just turnovers, Mississippi State taking advantage of those turnovers and converting them into points. Alabama had an egregious number of turnovers in that game, and every time Mississippi State came up with the ball, they took advantage of that. There's been other games where Alabama was just as turnover prone, but specifically Mississippi State got it to the basket and got it in there. Total number of turnovers in that game was 18 for Alabama. And I would say usually Alabama is somewhere between 10 and 20 on turnovers. That's one of the weakest spots on this team. But the points off of turnovers for Mississippi State was, I believe, over 30 points. And, you look at that and you say, all right, this is a 19-point win, and they had 30 points off turnovers. That's the difference in the game. So you can shoot 100% from free throw, but if you're going to have that many turnovers and your opponent is going to be that opportunistic on all the turnovers, you're not going to have a good night.
Well, Mississippi State themselves had 12 turnovers, but the problem with that is, and I can't see the stat, ESPN doesn't have this up, maybe you've got it. What was Alabama's points off turnovers?
I don't have that number in front of me, but it wasn't a particularly good shooting night for Alabama. Neither of these two games have been good shooting nights, and when that happens, you're just not going to capitalize. Mississippi State capitalized at every opportunity, and Alabama didn't.
Yeah, that would have been we were talking about this before. That would have been a Q1 win, a quadrant 1 win if Alabama had been able to win in the hump. Well, that wasn't the case. And I think that besides the three of us, we were optimistic that Alabama could have won. I think that people really thought that was going to be the one loss that Alabama was going to have this week. We had last week, we had the Fluffalupicans on the show. Fluffopotamus. I'm sorry, I botched his name. Luke, I'm sorry, man. I know you're listening to the show, but I botched your nickname. He said if you can go 1-1 this week, we'd be okay. Well, I thought our win would be Mississippi State and the loss would be Florida. I think a couple of people on the show thought the opposite way. Florida would be the win and Mississippi State would be the loss, because Coleman Coliseum is usually where Alabama plays its best. Well, Florida came in on Saturday, and they looked like world beaters where Alabama couldn't even get 30 and a half. Ben, you were at that game.
I've got to disagree right there with that point. Florida didn't look like world beaters. They looked like a Anthony Grant style team that played really good defense. And they just happened to score some shots. Florida's not a good team, and they weren't that phenomenal the other day. But they were playing a game for as few possessions as they possibly could, and they scored. Alabama couldn't score. Florida's a great defensive team. That's really their only strength. The reason why Florida's record is not better than it is because Florida generally can't score. They're not going to have a ton of games that break 70 points. And here you go. They got 71 against Alabama. So really disappointing performance from the Tide in this one.
It felt to me like, hang on, Dave. It felt to me like watching the Florida game, though, that we weren't even really trying to work the ball low. Like, we come down the court and we're trying to find the open guy to take the three. Felt that way in streaks against Mississippi State, too. And it's almost like we get behind by so much, we start to panic and try to get it back in big chunks. And is that I mean, do you guys notice the same pattern specifically against Florida? Is that lack of discipline? Is that something can be coached? Is that the game plan? Because that I think the fact that you go 5 for 19, and in both of those games, almost half of our shots were three-pointers that were errant three-pointers, and we seem to default to that rather than trying to work the ball low. Is that something we can fix, or is that the idea that we're trying to push on the court?
I think it is a function of being in a hole there. Alabama's trying to do a little bit more with sets where they can hit threes and try to close the gap. The problem is you've got to find somebody with a hot hand, and there were no hot hands in either of these games.
Well, it's sad to say there's no hot hands, because I was actually going to say the one positive is the true freshman 17-year-old. Is Kira still a 17-year-old?
Yeah, Kyra Lewis is 17, and he'll be 17 for, I believe, the entirety of the season. I think his birthday is like in April or something, so right after the season's over.
Yeah, because there's no chance that we're making the postseason. So Kyra being
it's always the NIT, Dave. Come on.
Right. Oh, that's true. A 17-year-old led the team in scoring both of these last two games. Now, you could say that's the one bright spot, but it was 17 points against Mississippi State and 14 points against Florida. I'm trying to say that being a good thing, that we have such a young talent coming up. But even as good a free throw shooter as Lewis is, he was only 50% against Florida.
Yeah, he has played very well on the court the past couple of games. But yeah, the free throws definitely left a lot to be desired. But sometimes shooting can be contagious. Unfortunately, it was a very scary contagion on Saturday for the free throws. But you got to give some credit to Kyra Lewis. You're absolutely right for the way he has tried to show some leadership with his play. A lot of times when you have a guy that young, you'd be worried at this point in the season that fatigue would be setting in because he's not used to playing this many games, this many minutes at this high of a level, and yet he's actually tried to step up his game. He just unfortunately hasn't had any help. He just hasn't had other guys stepping up their game in a way. That's not to say other guys haven't scored in double digits. John Petty had a decent day scoring on Saturday, but there just hasn't been enough help to complement what's been pretty decent performances from Kyra Lewis outside of Saturday's free throws.
Yeah, what scares me a little bit about this team is, I've said it before, and I probably will say this till I'm blue in the face. This isn't the young Alabama team that we should say, hey, let's wait. You know, we were told last week by Luke, wait, just ride this out just a little bit longer. I think we're to the point where we have to say, let's not wait anymore. This is the point where we could say this year or next year, something has to be done. We have to make a move to get to the postseason, to get something done, because we're losing a decent amount next year. We're going to be losing Ingram. We're definitely going to be losing Norris. You can make a case to say we're losing Petty because Petty could go pro.
No.
Well, come on, man. I mean, he's got a good shot. He could
Wait,
play.
Are you want to make a point make the case at this point in the season that Petty's got a good shot when you've constantly dogged Petty on this show? You want to say that Petty's going to go pro? Petty is not in any of the NBA projections right now. If he goes pro, it'll be just because he decided to move out of the country, and that's not going to happen.
Okay, so we'll keep Petty.
And I love John Petty. John Petty will be back. If you wanted to look where this team will be next year, Dazon Ingram is graduating. Tevin Mack is graduating. Now, Ingram still has a year of eligibility. Tevin Mack still has a year of eligibility. Avery Johnson Jr. is graduating, but he's out of eligibility. So I don't think you'll see AJ on the floor next year unless Avery Johnson Sr. would like to make something magical happen. So you could have Ingram and Tevin Mack both utilize the grad transfer. Riley Norris, after 37 years of service to this team, will now be out of eligibility and will be moving on to greener pastures. And Dante Hall, that's huge. That's going to be critical. So the question is whether or not Galen Smith will be able to step up and kind of fill that void, as well as some of the other large size guys stepping up to fill Galen Smith's role as the second and third big man.
How much eligibility does Daniel Giddens have left?
I believe Giddens has at least one more year, if not two. But also, Bama has not played Javion Davis-Fleming, and having him on the court, he is I think people will be very impressed with what he's able to do.
Who do we have? I know you keep your finger on the pulse of the recruiting class for basketball. Do we have a big man who can take the place of Hall coming back or coming in?
Well, I really think you're not going to have a freshman that's automatically able to replace Dante Hall. That's just that's those kind of big men are few and far between. Dante Hall, for a number of games this season, has averaged a double-double, and there's not going to be a guy that's going to be able to contribute that way. I think Galen Smith, with a little bit of improvement and some more consistent minutes as a starter, can actually grow into a role where he can replace Dante Hall fairly decently. But Dante Hall is not going to be easily replaced. I think it's going to take a team effort from 2 or 3 or perhaps 4 guys stepping up and playing in that role.
So I know you don't want to get into this, Ben, and we're going to have to just a little bit. Let's say the administration does something that Alabama fans are calling for now. I think Cecil Hurt wrote an article today about this might be the end of the Avery Johnson era. If it is, could Alabama be hit by this transfer portal bug that we're seeing a problem in football? Could that transfer portal be open for basketball if something happens and Avery Johnson is gone?
Okay, well, first, let's clarify what Cecil Hurt's column discussed today. Cecil Hurt had a column, Tuscaloosa News, Tidesports.com, all of that, and the title of it was "Alabama Must Fix Energy Level Issue and Fast." And what Cecil was saying in this article was he was zeroing in on some specific comments Avery Johnson made about recognizing the team's energy level wasn't good before the game. And Cecil Hurt appropriately says, hey, this team's got to fix its energy level, because if you see the team's, lethargic before the game, you got to do something to get them pepped up. And Avery Johnson said he noticed this while they were watching video. Well, Cecil suggests, hey, stop watching video and do something to get everybody jacked up. So that's in more or less words. And so yeah, Cecil Hurt is extraordinarily good. What makes him so good about his job is he always places very precise criticism and very timely criticism, and that's what I'd say is about this article. So Alabama must fix the energy level issue and fix it fast. That's the main takeaway. Alabama's got to do something to have more energy than what they've shown in the last two games, and you never know. Sometimes those things can carry over from game to game. It certainly seemed like whatever the issue was in Mississippi State carried over to the Florida game, but sometimes you can sleep those things off and put those things aside. But Bama's got a road trip to Texas A&M where Bama, by most estimates, is projected to get a win, but a road game at Texas A&M is kind of a toss-up right now. So hopefully Alabama has slept off whatever's making them lethargic and they're good to go. But right now it doesn't seem like that's like that quick fix has been there. But we also thought Alabama couldn't bounce back, speaking of Texas A&M, from when they lost to Texas A&M. And then they immediately answered with a road win at Mizzou. And I think beating Missouri on the road is going to be comparable to bouncing back from this past week and beating Texas A&M on the road. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying here's an opportunity for this team to forget this past week and put it behind them.
Ben, let me get you to rub your crystal ball that I see there sitting right in front of you. Right now, this team has 15 wins. Rub your crystal ball. I know we've still got Auburn at Coleman. We've got Texas A&M at Texas A&M. Those are the only two games I know about. I think we have LSU one more time.
Yeah, let's just run through the schedule. There's Texas A&M on the road. There's Vandy at home. There's South Carolina on the road. There's LSU at home, Auburn at home, and then finishing the season on the road at Arkansas.
Okay, so there's a chance if we win out to win 20 wins. If Alabama gets 20 wins, we're in the tournament. I think 20 wins is the magic number to get into the tournament, correct?
Well, 20 historically is, but there's other things that factor in. Strength of schedule, what kind of quadrant one wins you've had, and those sort of things. I think Alabama could there's a whole lot of meat on the bone when you look at LSU, Auburn, and Arkansas, where in those final three games, Alabama is projected to lose those three games. And for that matter, on looking at KenPom, they're projected now to lose the last four games of the season. And if Alabama can, do the unexpected and pick up a couple of wins out of those four games, that really helps their resume. I think there's potential for this team to finish the regular season at 18 wins. And 18, depending on what's happening with other teams in the country, might be enough to have Alabama on the right side of the bubble. But it'll be a stretch. Ideally, you want Alabama to finish the regular season with 19 or 20 wins. I think if Bama gets to 19 wins and then picks up a win in the SEC tournament, I still think they're in decent shape for the NCAA tournament. They've got strength of schedule working for them, and they have a few signature wins that are sitting there to polish the resume. The resume needs as much polishing as it can get, though. So LSU and Auburn would be the two gems coming up in the next few weeks to play LSU on March 2nd and Auburn on March 5th. it would be really great for this team to get one of those 2 wins, because that would really be a strong quadrant 1 win. Even though those games are at home, those would be Q1 wins. And if they can get those Q1 wins there, that would be pretty big for them. Also, just beating Arkansas on the road could potentially be a Q1 win. So there's meat on the bone for Alabama to make a better case than they've made in the past week for them to be in this tournament.
So are you predicting Alabama will probably be a second-day SEC tournament game? You don't think Alabama will be in that play-in game? It's not really play-in, but
the Wednesday
first
games.
The Wednesday games?
No. The Wednesday games are all but set, because if you take a look at the standings, you've got Vandy and Georgia and Texas A&M and Missouri all really hanging around the bottom there. Alabama's record is not great, but Bama's record is middle of the pack. Ken Palm's right now projecting Alabama to have a 9-9 record in conference. If you finish 9-9, you're not going to be one of the bottom 4 teams.
Okay, so 9-9 in an SEC, which you and everybody else probably says that. I mean, last week we talked. Luke told us that the SEC is pretty much up. It's one of the top tier conferences in the NCAA right now. 9-9 in the top tier conference. What does that do for you as a resume builder? Is that a good thing, or do you have to look at the losses that should have been wins and the wins that should have been losses?
Well, yeah, those things factor in. Which games that you should have won. So yeah, this Florida loss is definitely a black eye, and these 2 games both hurt the net rankings because they're not just losses; they're losses by more than 10 points. 10 points is kind of the magic number on looking at whether something is a decent loss or a really bad loss. So the fact that Alabama lost at home to Florida by such a large margin is definitely a black eye. So I haven't seen the updated net rankings. It'll probably be a little bit, but Alabama's been in the 40s in the net. I think Alabama's going to actually wind up being in the 50s. It's definitely a black eye, the Florida game. The Mississippi State game was already so much of an expected loss because it was on the road against such a good team as Mississippi State, that one wasn't going to affect the numbers too much one way or the other. There was an upside in beating Mississippi State, but not as much downside in getting the loss there. But Florida, this is a huge black eye.
Yeah. So let me get you to rub your little crystal ball one more time. And Adam, I might bring you in on this one because I know you've got some thoughts over here. But if you had to say right now, predicting, let's say Alabama wins 3 of the last 5, just throwing it out there, they win 1 they're not supposed to. Is Alabama right now one of the top 68 teams, and would you think that they should be in the NCAA tournament with the resume winning 1 more game that they're not supposed to and winning 2 more games and maybe 1 in the postseason in the SEC tournament? Adam, I'll throw it to you first.
It's on the fence, man. For me, it really is. And I think I'm on the fence, and we've had some conversations aside from this about resume and things like that. It's the downward trend and the fact that we're flagging in energy and not getting ourselves in the right mindset for games this late in the season. If this was the first few weeks of SEC play, and you know what, we went out and we played Mississippi State and Florida, and we just didn't come up with what we needed to, but we were going to figure out a way to get out of it, that's one thing. But to be this deep into the season and lose by almost 20 twice in a row, I think that puts us out as far as I'm concerned right now.
Would you have us in the NIT as a top seed, or would you put us in like a mid-tier NIT seed right now?
Pessimistic Adam says mid-tier even in the NIT, but I think you could say that at this point we would be a higher seed in the NIT.
Okay. So probably a 2 or 3. I don't think we'd be a 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ben, retort.
The question, Bama's got 6 games left, and I think you said if Bama wins 3 of their last 5.
Yeah, I did.
So no, that's fine. Well, that's fine. We can look at the last 5 because that's Vandy. Let's say they beat Vandy at home, and then out of South Carolina on the road, LSU at home, Auburn at home, and Arkansas on the road. If you give me 2 wins out of any of those final 4, Bama's got a good resume. Bama's going to be in the tournament. So Yeah, A&M and Vandy, there's not a lot of room for error. Bama needs to pick up 2 wins this week, and there was not a lot of room for error before, and now there's basically no room for error. So A&M is a bit of a coin flip in who could win that game. Ken Pom has Alabama with a 51% chance of winning. Vandy at home is a must-win. You saw Alabama let Vandy creep back in Nashville. If Alabama lets Vandy, if somehow just has miscues, if they have droughts like they had against Florida, which is unlikely because Vandy doesn't play defense like Florida does, if something like that comes along and Bama loses to Vanderbilt, I think the season is over in terms of making the tournament. But if you look at the last 4 games, South Carolina, LSU, Auburn, and Arkansas, if Bama is able to get 2 out of those 4, Bama's going to be in the NCAA tournament. If they get 1, they're probably in. But 2 of those 4 will be all resume boosters. So that's when I say there's meat on the bone, that's what I'm talking about. There's a whole lot of upside in overachieving on the expectations that this team's going to finish the regular season with 4 losses. If Bama doesn't finish the season with 4 losses, there's a lot of upside in that, and this team's going to make the NCAA tournament.
What seed do you have Alabama making the NCAA tournament at? Are we one of the first 4 ins? If they do that?
Yeah, I think it depends on just how some of these games finish out. Whether it's winning 1 of those 4 or winning 2 of those 4 or something like that. I think Alabama is going to probably be, I think you'll see some projections this week where Alabama is still like a 10 or 11 seed. I think things could drop a little bit, and you see Alabama, as one of the first 4 as a playing game, or perhaps just as a solid 11. There's a few things. There's a few things to keep an eye on, and it's not just how Alabama does; it's how the other teams in Alabama's orbit do. So, several of the teams Alabama's played are on the cusp of moving up a quadrant. Our old friend Northeastern, that set you guys off at the beginning of the year, are actually about to move up a quadrant if they're able to rattle off a few more wins. And so they had a loss to Charleston on Saturday. That kind of dropped them a little bit. But if Northeastern is able to finish the season strong and pick up 4 more wins, that may be enough to move Northeastern up a quadrant, which makes that loss to Northeastern statistically not look as bad. And it's not just Northeastern, it's a few of Alabama's other opponents. So anybody Alabama's played, you need to be rooting for if you want to see Alabama make the tournament. If you're a positive fan that wants to see that, you need to be rooting for all of Alabama's previous opponents to do well and keep doing well, so that way they will be in the best quadrant possible when it comes to looking at Alabama's resume.
Does that mean I have to carry a cowbell to any game I watch because we have to root for Mississippi State and Auburn and Tennessee?
You should want the SEC to do well, and you should want the good SEC teams that are projected to be in the tournament to do well. I'm not going to go as far as to ask you to pull for Auburn, Dave, but because if Bama beats Auburn, that will be a big enough resume booster that things will be okay. So, but as for everybody else, you don't need to carry a cowbell, but you might want to see Mississippi State keep winning.
Okay, all right. Well, give me just your final projection right now, Ben. If the season ended right now, judging by what you've seen from Alabama, are you happy with the resume as the resident bog on this group? Are you happy with the resume that Alabama has put out with the talent that we have on the court?
Yeah, I think this team is underachieved, without a doubt. This team is underachieved on several different fronts, and there's been several problems that seem to be fixable that could have been repaired and haven't been repaired to date. If all I've got to go on is the last 2 games, there's nothing to be happy about. However, if this team makes the tournament, and for me, I know we just talked about like first 4 in, making the field of 68. For me, in my mind, making the tournament is being in the field of 64. If Alabama finds itself in the field of 64, I'm going to be moderately happy with where this team's at, despite underachieving. I don't think that should be, we discuss this all the time. I don't think that should be the goal every year. But I think this team making the tournament is considering this team was projected to be 15-14 by Ken Palm at the end of the year, and they've already got 15 wins. I think this team has exceeded some expectations on some levels and then completely whiffed and not met expectations on a few other levels. So I will be moderately happy if this team makes the tournament and makes the field of 64. If it doesn't, there's a lot of questions that have to be asked.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, there's our basketball talk. I think you know what plane of field Adam and I are on. I'm not going to go as far as to say we're totally 100% Fogs, because we do want our basketball program to be good. Because when the basketball program is good, the football program is good, the softball program is good, the basketball the baseball program is good. When any program is good in the University of Alabama, all the other programs look better. So we want the basketball program to be good. I just don't think this is the year that we look good. We know that Ben is on the plane where basketball is always going to be good. But now it is time.
What does that mean?
You're the resident Bog. We know that, Ben. But now it is time for us to do our picks. Ben, let's hit them up.
All right. Here we go. Getting started with games on Tuesday, SEC games. The first game of the night is Vandy on the road at Tennessee. What do you guys think will happen in this game?
Do you really think we're going to pick Vandy to get their first SEC win against Tennessee?
I mean, I just had to ask. Tennessee's lost a game. Maybe they're reeling from their loss to Kentucky. Maybe they're having an identity crisis. They went to overtime with Vandy. Maybe Vandy is their kryptonite.
No, Vandy gets demolished.
Yeah, easy one at home too. So Tennessee.
By the way, what's the home road record, Adam?
It's currently, I think it still sits at 52-48 for home.
Okay.
I do like a good steak.
How do you like your Denny's steak there, Ben?
I don't think Denny's was in the bet. I will say that Tennessee, the home team, is going to pick up this win against Vandy. The next game to pick for Tuesday night is Ole Miss on the road at South Carolina. What do you guys think will happen there?
Give me Ole Miss in this one. I think South Carolina is kind of in that upward and downward roller coaster trajectory. And Ole Miss is kind of steady, kind of in the middle. I'm going Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is 18-7. They'll be 19-7 after this with a much better record than us.
Both teams are 8-4 in the conference, so this may actually be the game that decides who fills that fourth spot for the double bye in the SEC tournament. I think South Carolina is going to utilize their home court advantage and get the win. Next up, Kentucky, number 5 in the land, probably moving up before the game actually happens because we're waiting on some poll numbers. But number 5, Kentucky, will be on the road at Mizzou. Kentucky's living large now after a win over Tennessee. Who do you guys like in this one?
This one's not even close. Kentucky in a rout on the road.
Yeah, I agree. Kentucky all the way.
Yeah, I'm going to take Kentucky on the road as well. Now it's time for the Wednesday games. Oh wait, hold on. We got to get the other Tuesday game in. You guys would have loved it if I had not mentioned that. Alabama at Texas A&M, of course. One of the later night games. It is a road game.
Yeah. So Alabama goes on the road, and Alabama wins on the road, 76-72. Alabama wins on the road, 76-72.
I'll take that same score, flip it the other way. Texas A&M wins at home.
I'm going to take Alabama winning on the road 72-69. A&M beat Alabama with a last-second shot. It's going to be a similar situation as Alabama gets a last-second shot in a little revenge on Texas A&M. Now we go to the Wednesday games. Mississippi State will be taking on Georgia. What's going to happen in this matchup in Athens?
Mississippi State's actually looking pretty decent after that win against Alabama. I got Mississippi State beating a not good Georgia team.
Yeah, Georgia's underachieved much, much worse than I expected they would, so Mississippi State takes this one on the road.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Mississippi State here as well. Mississippi State's had a few games where they've faltered in road settings, but I think this is going to be a good game for the Bulldogs of Mississippi State as they take on the Georgia Bulldogs. So I'll pick them. Also, as I said, Bama fans should be interested in tournament teams continuing to look more and more like tournament teams. Next up, Florida on the road at number 19 LSU.
LSU's looking good. The only reason Florida looked good is because they beat Alabama. Honestly, I think Florida has more to lose going into this, so I'm going to pick Florida in the upset on this one.
The world beaters, as you put it, right?
Yeah, the world beaters.
Yeah, I think LSU takes this one at home. I think they start to stamp their way a little bit more around statements to lock in their place in the tournament and stay with a really good record. So I've got LSU.
Yeah, I'm going to take LSU at home. They've got a lot of things clicking for them right now, so I will go with the Tigers. Next up, it is Arkansas on the road at Auburn.
Yeah, I can't go against Auburn here. I hate to say it, but I think Auburn's going to win this one.
Yeah, home court advantage, better than Arkansas. They've got the fat guy. It all works. Auburn.
I do think that Arkansas is in the realm of possibility of pulling an upset here, but I am going to stick with the home team and pick Auburn. All right, now it's time for the Saturday slate of games. Number 1 for the moment, Tennessee on the road at 19 LSU. Both of these, Tennessee will not be number 1 at that point. LSU will be ranked a little bit better at that point. What's going to happen in this game in Baton Rouge? Probably the best matchup this week for SEC teams.
I think LSU goes 0-2 this week. I've got Tennessee winning this one.
Yeah, I'm tempted to pick LSU, but I'm just going to go with the way Tennessee's played and pick them on the road.
Yeah, I think Tennessee is going to be locked in. This will actually be one of those circumstances where I do pick the road game. So I will go with the Vols on the road. Auburn on the road will be taking on number 5, potentially higher, Kentucky. What's going to happen in this game at Rupp Arena?
The fat man magic does not work at Rupp. I've got Kentucky winning.
Yeah, that is true. I've got Kentucky too.
Yeah, I'm expecting a dominant performance by Kentucky, unless Auburn just really wants to be unconscious shooting threes. All right, Georgia on the road at Ole Miss.
Ole Miss wins, and what I used to call the Tad Pad, it's not there anymore, but I'm just going to still call it the Tad Pad. Ole Miss wins.
Yeah, I've got Ole Miss at home too on this one. I think they're playing pretty good ball. They're going to continue.
Yeah, I will take the Rebels at home. Mizzou will be on the road versus Florida. What's going to happen in this game?
I really don't want to pick another home team, but I got Florida winning.
Yeah, this doesn't work for your state bet, Dave. I've got Florida too.
Yeah, Missouri's got a lot of problems, so I got to go with the Gators. Then we've got South Carolina taking on Mississippi State in Starkville. What do you think will happen in that?
I'm going to go with the upset. I got South Carolina winning this one.
Well, you're up on those guys. I'm going to get Mississippi State at home on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bulldogs and take State. The nightcap for the SEC on Saturday will feature Texas A&M versus Arkansas. What's going to happen in Fayetteville?
I don't want to pick another home team, but I got to. Arkansas wins this one.
Yeah, I'm the same way over here, man. It doesn't bode well for either one of us in the bet, but Arkansas as well.
I'm going to say Woo Pig alongside you guys. One game left to pick. It is a 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Vandy on the road at Alabama in Coleman Coliseum. Usually a home court advantage, not so much this past Saturday. Will Alabama have continued bad fortune or a return to good fortune at home in this Saturday game?
I think it's going to be a return to good fortune. I got Alabama winning with a last-second shot, 66-65.
A good fortune with a last-second shot being what it takes to win over Vanderbilt. Those two things just don't go together. But I'm picking Alabama at home with this one too.
Desperation goes a long way, and it should be raw talent plus desperation should equal a strong win at home over Vandy. I'm going to take Alabama 78-68 over the Commodores. All right, guys, those are the sideline warnings. I mean, those are the picks. Now it's time for the sideline warnings. I was getting ahead of myself.
You always start us off then.
I was reversing them. I was jumping them around. I'll start off with my sideline warning. After the disappointing and unfortunate loss to Florida, me and my buddy decided to take advantage of the ticket situation in Tuscaloosa, which was allowing you to use your basketball ticket to slide over to the Joe and pick up a few innings of Bama baseball. Now, granted, first pitch was at the same time as tip-off in this game, but we were able to slide over and after the basketball game and watch some of the final innings of the baseball game as Alabama took on Presbyterian. Now, the what we saw was not much better fortune than the basketball game, but it was still great to be standing there in the middle of February, looking out on that beautiful green field and seeing guys play baseball. So basketball season is not over. There's a lot left to enjoy, if you want to believe it. And it's great, but it's also great to see baseball. This is one of my favorite times of the year when baseball and basketball overlap, because there's just so much fun going on. And just being able to step out there and it not be like super frigid like it usually would be for a February game was just really pleasant. The weather was not fantastic, but it was nice, it was comfortable, and it was great to see the Tide out there on the diamond. And so yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to baseball in general. I'm looking forward to the baseball season.
Hey Ben, didn't Bama lose the game that you went to?
That's what I said. The fortunes were similar to the basketball game. They weren't in good shape.
So would you say that Bama went 2-1 this weekend? Were you the reason Bama lost that one game to Presbyterian?
It seems possible, and to be honest, I meant to bring this up earlier in the show. I've got to take full responsibility for these losses, because that morning I actually wound up being in Tuscaloosa a little early. I had a little time to kill. I swung by the soup store and I just saw this beautiful new Alabama hat, and I had to have it. And I broke one of the cardinal rules of fandom, and that is don't buy a new hat on game day. And I couldn't help it. I knew better, but I couldn't help it. It's a really nice hat. And so 47 brand got some money, and we got a couple of losses, and it's my fault. And I'm sorry. I want to apologize to the entire Bama Nation.
So let me go ahead and clarify a rule. You can buy a hat on game day. You just can't wear it into the stadium, the Coliseum, whatever field of play. Ben, you know better, man. What was up with that?
I knew better. I was lulled into a false sense of security at how poor Florida's offensive efficiency was. I thought I could get away with it, but I should have known better than to tempt fate.
Okay, well, maybe Adam will do better at tempting his fate with his sideline warning.
Well, talking about times a year and sporting things starting up that we get excited about, it was the first day, the day we're recording today on Sunday, was the Daytona 500. Got really excited about it, and then the race proceeded to last almost 5 hours. So I'm not exactly sure if I'm still excited about the season starting or not. But I want to be a get off my lawn guy and rant about restrictor plate racing. I want to be a get off my lawn guy and rant around how long it takes for the race to finish when you have two red flags because of the wrecks that break out. But hey, let's just enjoy that. Hey, the racing's back. NASCAR season's here. A lot of people debate with me, like we do with Dave pretty regularly, whether or not it's a sport. I always make the argument that you try driving for now 5 hours in your car with the ability to get off the interstate and go to the bathroom without being able to stop for snacks, without having any music, just someone yelling in your ear about where you are the entire time, and see if you can do that. If you can do that, then you should be a NASCAR driver, because it is actually a sport, because it's that hard to do. But tune in, give it a shot. It's one of my favorite sports to watch, and especially go see it live if you get a chance. But even if you have to use 5 hours of a Sunday to enjoy it, let's also enjoy some NASCAR now that it's back.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm a huge NASCAR fan, but if a sport's going to last for 5 hours, you can't expect me to not have a 2-hour nap in the middle of it.
So you're saying NASCAR needs an intermission?
Yes, it does. I will. I'm not ashamed to admit I took a good hour and a half nap in the middle of that 5 hour Daytona 500.
Yeah, we left with, gosh, it was, I can't remember how many laps were left. Me and Aiden went fishing. We came back and there were still 9 to go, and they were sitting still on the track. I couldn't believe it, because we were there for a while. So yeah, it was a crazy race. But hey, congratulations to Denny Hamlin for keeping Kyle Busch out of winner's circle.
We're not going
to congratulations for that.
No, I don't. I hate Denny Hamlin.
But
I hate
Kyle Busch. Oh.
That was the worst of worst. I mean, come on.
It's my sideline warning. You're not allowed a rebuttal to my sideline warning.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Adam, and before we go into any more, I've got my sideline warning to get to, but it's not going to be about NASCAR. They said on today's recording or today's whatever broadcast that this is the very last restrictor plate race. Can you go into detail about that? Do you know what's going on?
I have not heard that. I actually just got done tweeting to ESPN's tweet. They were showing a slow-mo of the big one, and I actually tweeted back the joy of restrictor plate racing. If it's the last one, I would enjoy that, but I wonder if it's the last one in that they're finding a new way to do it.
Yeah.
Because all the cars bunched up for that long just asks for millions of dollars of investment to be wasted,
Yeah.
So I would love to see it go, but I would be surprised if it's completely leaving. I would more expect that they're finding a new way to restrict the output of the engine. But.
Bring back the 209 miles an hour that
right?
Awesome Bill from Dawsonville ran there in Talladega. Or was it Talladega or was it Daytona that he did that?
No, I think it was Talladega. But,
Okay.
I mean, with all the advancements they've made in safety in the cars now, I think you can ease up a little bit because restrictor plates were there to keep them from going 209 and slamming into the wall. But now we've improved safety so much, it's time to ease up a little bit on that thing. So we'll see.
I will say this before I get into my sideline warning. I'm going to put a hot take out there really quick now that Adam brought up NASCAR. There was a Goodyear commercial talking about living up to your name, and the man that they were using to talk about living up to his name was Dale Earnhardt Jr. Look, I'm as big an Earnhardt Jr. fan as there is. But, Jr., if you're going to say you lived up to your name, you are lying to yourself. Because Dale Sr. was NASCAR. Dale Sr. won 7 championships when it was hard to win 7 championships. Jr., you didn't win 1. You can't say because I was the hottest, the fan favorite driver for 15 years in a row, I was a big name. Jr., it doesn't matter. You couldn't get to victory lane where your dad could.
Wow.
So don't talk to me about living up to the Goodyear name because you did not live up to the Earnhardt name.
There you
Adam,
go.
did you ever think you'd hear those words coming out of my mouth?
No, because I honestly thought he wouldn't give you the opportunity to do it, but he did because we agree on that.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever expected to agree on it, but yes. But so I did the Googles really quick while you were on your Get Off My Lawn Guy thing. And so instead of having 750 horsepower at every track except Daytona and Talladega, they actually are using tapered spacers to choke down horsepower at all 36 races. They're limited to 550 horsepower now.
Are you kidding me?
Lame. So maybe I'm not as excited as I thought it was.
We're not going to see 200 miles an hour, let alone 209.
Be good to do 150.
Good grief.
Yeah, that's kind of sad. But hey, we'll see how it does before we
It's going to look like McFarland Boulevard at rush hour.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to
that's
look
about
like.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
All right. So this is going to be words that you didn't expect to hear out of Dave's mouth on any podcast. Adam, you were correct, sir. Because a couple of weeks ago, nay, last week, you said it was time for the Atlanta Braves to act, and I said, have patience. Well, patience is now done. Atlanta. Craig Kimbrell is in frickin' Orlando right now. Who's the only team that still has spring training in Orlando? Oh, that would be the Atlanta Braves. Alex Anthopoulos, if you don't act this week, nay, if you don't act before this podcast goes live, you're going to have one very upset person at the ESPN Worldwide of Sports on Friday, at the ESPN Worldwide of Sports on Saturday, and I will be wearing my Braves jersey, but I will probably be yelling something like sign Kimbrell over and over and over. And heck, I might even be yelling sign Keuchel, sign Dallas Keuchel. The Braves need pitching. The time for patience is over. The time for acting is now. Adam, what do you want to say?
Please. AA, buddy, I got to run the race with this cat, dude. Please don't. Anytime we get anywhere near the sports complex, I don't need him yelling that, please, for 13.1 miles. I assume you're not talking during the race. I assume as you're driving by, right? But please tell me.
Well, I don't think there's any point in time during the race we go by ESPN, do we?
Yeah, but Dave, you get amped up in the race, man. You start listening to your Rocky soundtrack. And Come on, man, why would they hire him? I just don't want you to get like. So, AA, do me a solid, man. Let's just get rid of even the possibility that Dave could go on a mid-race rant. Please.
It'll happen, Adam.
Oh,
I'll
God.
go on my rants.
Oh, no.
You know me and rants. I love rants.
I know. I think I'm going to get picked up by the balloon ladies. Get picked up on purpose. Well, you didn't finish the race or get a medal. Trust me, it was worth it. Old
All
man
right.
Dave. Anyway, sorry. I took this on a tangent.
No, that's fine. That's my sideline warning. Time for patience is over. Time for acting is now. AA, do your job. Go to Liberty Mutual and find some money. Find some way to sign Keuchel and Craig Kimbrell because the Braves need it. Heck, if it was up to me, Julio Teheran would be off this team right now. Could you imagine the starting five? Keuchel, Fulte, Newcomb, Tukey, and Soroka? That's the starting five I can get behind, right, gentlemen?
Dave, will you just go ahead and say Julio Teheran is a failure right here at the beginning of his Cy Young year?
Julio Teheran is a failure and doesn't belong on the Atlanta Braves roster.
Mm.
There you go. Julio Teheran is a failure. He's done. He's done. All right, guys. This show is done. If you have a comment that you want for this show, Adam, how do they get a hold of this show?
931-44-BLITZ. If you have a hot take regarding Kimbrell, you can Google the Atlanta Braves front office and leave them a voicemail and share how unhappy you are with the decision-making they have. But if you have a hot take about anything else, maybe even including that, just a 931-44-BLITZ. You'll hear a brief message, leave a voicemail after the beep. We will play it on the show. We'll answer the question. We'll discuss your take, and we'll play it like we always do, guys. I think we've included everyone we've gotten so far.
Yeah, we have. We have. In fact, I think Ben likes to go in and edit it to where it sounds great on the show, right, Ben?
Always.
All right, guys. Also, if you want to get a hold of us on Twitter, we are at SW The Show. Instagram is also SW The Show. On Twitter, I am at DAdams419. He is at The Ben Foster. Adam is at Run Tide Run. And, guys, we've got Adam tweeting now. He's making his thoughts known about the Orlando Apollos. The president of the Orlando Apollos actually retweeted one of Adam's tweets. I'm proud of you, Adam.
I was proud of myself before he did that. I thought that was a really good one. And then he did that, and I was just that much more proud.
There you go. Well, if you want to know what it was, go in and follow Adam on Twitter.
You have to go look.
You have to go look. We're not telling you what it is. Also, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/SW The Show. Join the Facebook fan group. Always go in and follow our guest, Thom Abraham. Find him on the Thom Abraham Show, facebook.com/Thom Abraham Show. You can find him on Twitter. He is at the Thom Abraham Show or at Thom Abraham Show, at Bassmaster, Bassmaster Radio. Also, he has Field of Faith Radio. I'll find all those on Twitter. Guys, I won't be on next week's show. It's going to be Adam and Ben alone. They're going to do – this will be the first time Sideline Warning has been without the golden voice of the Southeast. Will the show make it? Do you know? You have to tune in. Tune in, same bat time, same bat channel. We say it every week, guys. We love you. We will see you guys next week. Roll Tide and Forge On. See you next week. Ben, do you have some good outtake shit?
I think we got a few things we can work with.
You like how I didn't put true aim or aim true? Or
I said it, dadgummit. I was.
You were on mute. You were on mute.
I said it. It's amateur hour at the Apollo, ladies and gentlemen. All right, wait. Everybody hush. Take aim. There, you can play it at the end. Now you've got it.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be an outtake.
I think that's exactly what that is.